The Department of Marion MPO, he was heavily involved, but, he's certainly familiar with the MPOs and anything and everything, so I was asking to come over, but.
No, I just knew he was one of the counterparts I had over there.
Yeah, yeah.
Where you at?
I'm out of Springfield.
Okay.
Yeah, he was born early.
Okay.
Yeah, so then I got Duca tomorrow. This is it. Worked out.
What about back to Cape on Friday? That, because we said Duke, I was wondering if you also thinking of that Shawnee Park. Anything there?
They're up there, I'm sorry. I grabbed.
Well,
mine,
it's
and mine is
certainly
gonna be
something
long.
that-
I'm sorry.
We used to call it with I-65, I-69.
Yeah, so.
There was, 10 years ago, it was really catching some fire, and then it's just kind of been idle, but and from what,
Whenever this is all the way.
I've heard recently, right?
How are you?
Good.
Good. Are you settling in? Yeah? Yeah? Should I get your house sold in probably? No?
Not yet. We haven't been on the market.
Yeah.
Working on her too. That's what we got back. So it's surplus.
Yeah.
We're building our house.
Yeah.
She's got. They can go down.
Let's just sell it.
Yes.
Yeah,
All
those things, yeah. All of that stuff is, real estate still selling and things like that. I would think that you're still gonna get a reasonable amount.
There's much report on the item side.
But women happen to have grand ideas, Matt. So.
No. Well, occasionally on, there's a big, Three's having a big
Granddaughter?
next couple of years project. That's one of
Yeah.
the, and it's actually in the MPO. The bridge, of course,
They
is.
used to pop
or
up,
asset.
or no,
Not-
they did,
or
okay.
I'm concerned, as far as
$6 months earlier.
assets of IDOT related.
Oh, and those are the ones.
Three, whether it's Cape Girardeau or Chicago, Duke, or it all. treated the same.
Yeah, so she's not making that move, yeah. You still sit on the board for SNPS? Yeah. Yeah. That, and I think typically in the past, that's kind of always been filled by whoever had your position in the city anyway.
And
I guess they kind of, starting.
yeah, I was there 50 years ago. For a little while. And then worked with the SEMPO since it started. So, yeah.
We'll start with some introductions and just, we got a full house and some new faces, so we'll do our introductions. And just as a reminder, there is a sign-in sheet up here, so make sure you get your signed in and get your name and everything on there. You can look. I'm Jeremy Tans, I'm Executive Director of the Seymour Regional Planning Commission and current MPO Chairman.
I'm Dwayne Haas, Mayor of Jackson.
Matt Winter, City Administrator for Jackson.
Rodney Bullinger, City of Jackson.
Rich Flowtron, SEMO.
Jenny Smith, Executive Director for CTA.
Tom Caldwell, IDOT, Springfield, Illinois.
Corbin Carlton, MoDOT.
Joe Killian, MoDOT.
Marla Mills, KLG Engineering and SEMPO staff, and I have with me Janice Collier, who's going to join our KLG team.
Chad Burns, CEO, Seymour.
Stacy Kinder, Mayor of Cape.
Stephen Downey, District 1 Commissioner, Cape County. Charlotte Herbst, District 2 Commissioner, and I'll be the property from Phillips today.
Terry Harbison, Executive Director of Seymour Woods.
Trevor Foley, City of Cape.
Alex McRoy, SEMPO staff, and on the line, we have a member from Blue Hill Regional Planning Commission.
Jared Brown.
Welcome, Jared.
Thank you.
And walking in is Drew Christian, also at Seymour RPC. All right, with that, we'll take a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion from Mayor Haas,
Second.
second from Shad. All in favor? Any opposed? It's banned. You have a copy of the meeting minutes there in front of you. You have a chance to review those. Take a motion to approve. Motion from Chad,
Second.
second from Mr. Winters, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. I don't have any communications at this point, so we'll ask for any public comments regarding items not on the agenda. Hearing none, we'll move on to our new and unfinished business, starting with resolution number 2025-01. Resolution approving MoDOT and IDOT pavement and bridge PM2 and system performance PM3 targets.
Back in November, the board passed the safety performance targets. We married that with our comprehensive safety action plan with the long-term vision of 0 serious injuries and fatalities. These are due by the end of March 30th, 2025. Earlier this month, our planning committee recommended that the board approve the PM2 pavement and bridge and PM3 system performance targets. MoDOT's targets are based on a 5-year rolling average, and IDOT is required to provide every 2 and 4-year targets based on data submitted during the National Bridge Inventory and the Highway Performance Monitoring Systems submittals. Once again, our board has the option of supporting the state DOT targets or adopting our own, and our planning committee has recommended that we support the state targets. I have one handout here that shows both MoDOT and IDOT targets for PM2 and PM3. I'd like to review them. And I would entertain any questions.
Am I reading it right? Take one, percentage of interstate pavements in good conditions. The target is to be less than the 23 target, to go from, is that a 77 to 65?
That's a good eye, and that was caught by our planning committee as well. We did reach out to Karen Miller for clarification. Our initial assumption was it's a funding issue. They envision the bridges in good condition, falling into poor condition. That's why you see that increasing. But Joe, I don't know if you've heard anything additional from Karen.
I did follow up with Karen yesterday, maybe Monday. And it is simply a function of the state has 10,800 bridges, and it is, they're all ranked in good, fair, or poor condition, depending upon how new they are, just the general condition. Obviously, the newer bridges are in generally better condition. And with funding, it is anticipated to be somewhat of a losing battle. We're staying up kind of, but we also want to be realistic about where we're at and not be overly optimistic that we have so many more opportunities to have bridges in better conditions. So obviously MoDOT has done some things to try to improve funding, including the governor's bridge funding project program that we had, the Safe and Sound program that we had back in the late 2000s. And part of this, now this is specifically, I call your attention to, these are NHS bridges that we're talking about and NHS pavements. So it's not the MoDOT statewide system. And so with this, you'll get stuff like the Chester Bridge, your major river bridge crossings that are greater than 1,000 feet. So when one of those starts to deteriorate, and you have those issues, that really, not only are those, they're major bridges, but they're also a lot of deck volume, if you will, a lot of deck area that can get to be in poor condition. So we're basically just trying to be realistic about what our future is. It doesn't mean we're taking our foot off the gas to, just slack on these, but we also don't want to paint an overly optimistic picture. Be a little bit more realistic. And in light of the, every year seems like we face, since Senate Bill 262 passed 3 or 4 years ago, every year it has faced opposition in the legislative session where they try to repeal that. And we just want to be we want to be realistic about our funding opportunities and maybe when we do our next set, we'll see a better, better numbers. And we did, this last year, one of the things that happened was some of the new machines that come out, like for pavements, we bought a new machine that does our analyzing, if you will. And it seemed to have a lot better, degree of accuracy. And so there's a little bit, some of our numbers came in a little bit lower than what we had thought that they would, compared to the other existing machines. So we revised our 2024 numbers, kind of mid-cycle that we're allowed to. So I think that's kind of what you see here. It's not the best thought to say we're losing ground, but we are, again, continuing to make improvements. And it is just for NHS and interstate stuff here as far as what this is reflecting.
And NHS stands for?
National Highway System. And Tom, you may have better, or at least a different take on that from a different state standpoint.
Well, possibly some things might have moved from good into poor.
Sure.
And so the, you know, or as you say, there may be some improvements that didn't allow for it to be.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the performance targets? I would take a motion to approve the resolution to follow the MoDOT and IDOT targets.
I'll make that motion.
Motion from Mayor Haas,
Second.
second from Mayor Kinder. All in favor? Any opposed? Next on the agenda is resolution number 2025-02, resolution approving the Safe Streets for All Comprehensive Safety Action Plan.
Our planning committee back in November 6th released our draft for public comment. We've had a project webpage ever since it was released for the general public to review. It's just our website /safety action plan. You can see the landing page here. Here's a copy of the draft document. This is a link to the GIS story map, which is the interactive map outlining the high injury network. Here we have our executive summary. Here's the draft plan again. Here's our safety toolkit, and then all of the appendices. If you scroll down, we actually have the GIS story map embedded into the web page, or you can click the link and open it in a new tab. All of the comments that we have received have been included and incorporated. The TPC earlier this month had recommended that the board approve the plan. Approving the plan this month keeps us on our timeline for our grant requirements. Once the plan is approved and accepted by Federal Highway, that'll leave our member entities eligible for implementation grants through the SS4A program. Those are the capital construction grant programs. And I do think with the extensive plan and the high injury network that they had identified and the 9 specific projects, that we do have some low hanging fruit within our communities to go after some of these projects to make safety improvements. But I don't want, and I shared with our planning committee, I don't want folks limiting themselves just to this SS4A program. We will eventually have a new infrastructure law. There will be grant opportunities for safety improvements along the roadways. And citing the fact that our region does have the safety action plan in place will only strengthen your grant applications. One interesting tidbit from the study is it revealed that 1/3 of all of our fatal injury and crashes on our roadways occur on just 8% of our total roadway network. So we have definite areas that we can focus on initially. So once this is approved, I'll need to issue our final report to Federal Highway by the end of March. And that'll complete this project. Right on time. That's your timer.
I have to leave early. Something got scheduled to by orthopedic
That's supposed to be tomorrow.
Are there any follow-up questions for Alex on the plan?
You can repeat that statistic again. What percentage of fatalities on what percentage of roadway?
Yeah, so a third of all our fatal injury crashes occur on just 8% of our total roadway network. And it really is identified in the. There we go. So they plotted out all of our crash history, be it just property damage or serious injuries or fatalities. And they were able to build a network of those roadways. You can see here, Cape Girardeau, they have it, and then they'll have it in Jackson, a bit further down. So there really is a lot of good information in there. It was over a 12-month process that we put this plan together. So really consider it when you're looking at grant opportunities, and certainly cite this endeavor as in we've taken a good look and analysis of our roadways and what measures we think will improve the safety along. And these are the 9 projects they specifically identified and went into further detail onto.
Those future projects?
These are within our high injury network. So
Yeah.
they looked into them further, did some analysis and proposed some safety enhancing solutions.
Okay.
Any questions on this plan?
Have any of these been previously identified for prioritization or STIP, or is this all new?
Within like MoDOT needs, I think we've mentioned the safety concerns along Kings Highway quite often during our MoDOT unfunded needs list. Good number of projects are actually owned by MoDOT, being East Jackson Boulevard and Kings Highway and Cape Girardeau. With portions of William Street, the city takes ownership once it goes east from Kings Highway. 3025. And yeah, certainly during our unfunded needs prioritization, this is a document we should reference as well.
Any further questions on the plan? Not, would take a motion to approve the plan as complete.
So moved.
Motion from Mayor Kinder. Second from Commissioner Hurst. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next is direction, is a discussion on the SEMPO region trail connections.
Okay, our consultants were in town last month and they provided an update to our planning committee. Following that update, we held 2 open houses, one on December 4th in Cape Girardeau and one on December 11th in Jackson at the Jackson Civic Center, where we introduced our 3rd option of an alignment. We shared with them elevations, property ownership, pros and cons of all 3 alignments. And then we asked them to put stickers on boards of which alignment they preferred. Overall, I thought it was well attended. We got some good feedback from folks. But right now, the project was divvied up into 5 different tasks. We just completed the 4th task and we're now into the draft report and final report. They started that mid-December and they anticipate that taking probably toward the end of February to have a final report ready.
Any other questions for Alex? Move on to our metropolitan transportation plan.
All right, where one major project comes to a conclusion, our next one is just getting started. We are now under contract with CBB Transportation Engineers and Planners for the development of our Metropolitan Transportation Plan update. We started it this fiscal year because it's a long process and our plan expires April of 2026. So we want to make sure we have plenty of time to get that plan completed and approved. So now that we're under contract, our consultants have indicated that they'll be attending our next planning committee meeting, where we'll host a project kickoff with our planning committee. Any questions on the MTP update?
When was the last one approved?
2021, April 2021. We were developing it during COVID, so hopefully this one is a little bit easier.
Any other questions on that process? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to our member reports. Cecily, I know you usually have to jump off early, so I'm going to go to you first for Federal Highway if you're available.
I appreciate that, everybody. I don't have any updates right now, but with the new change in administration, I am anticipating maybe a few changes in regs, but it probably will be maybe a month or so before we get any news on that. As soon as I do, I will be sure not only to pass it along to Alex, but I'll be there for the board meeting as well, just to kind of go over everything that I know. And Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
We'll go back to CK.
I'll start just, and thankfully with Trevor here, he can handle a lot of detail, but as I mentioned in a previous meeting, we approved getting our Transportation Trust Fund 7 issued on the April ballot. And finalized approved and finalized the final list of projects that will go on there. For the first time, we're actually, the list of projects is all reconstruction of current streets. No new development in that list. So that's kind of a reflection. We have a lot of community input as well. So major projects will include on Mount Auburn Road, Perryville Road, and Spring Street. Those are the majority, and then a lot of that funding will go towards asphalt, concrete repair type things throughout the city. So that's all I have to report.
I'll add one thing, that Bowen gave us the engineering design for North Sprague. So North Sprague, we've got our first comments going on it. It's going to be redone. We're going to have some nice crosswalks, stoplights. There's a college to reconfigure North Sprague, so it's safe for the college students and some of our elderly and handicapped that live along Emerald Street. That's going to be a showcase street, and then as the mayor talked about, another part of Sprague is going to be on TTF 7, which that is a small section that's going to also complete South Sprague from 74 all the way to Broadway 2. So hopefully in the next year or two, the entire Sprague Street is going to be redone. It's going to be a showcase, just as Lexington. We've got part of Lexington finished now. If anybody's been on it, very nice road structure. We're going to continue further on Lexington to continue to finish that. As that one goes on, you're going to see Berkeley come online and Perryville as we move forward with some of the streets. And we're going to keep continuing doing maintenance on a lot of our streets and move forward. And I apologize, I did have to leave early. Something changed very quickly that I couldn't control.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, Sue Jackson.
All right, well, we finalized our budget for 2025, and some of the transportation projects are the 50/50 cost share project on building the Deerwood roundabout, Deerwood and North High. Also in there is the Sunset Hill Bridge replacement, which I think is a 90% grant on that from a cost basis. And as well as our, streetlights on, East Jackson Boulevard, which will be a 50/50 cost, there. I think we're waiting on, MoDOT and us to finalize so that we can get that project out for bid. Haven't put in our normal asphalt and concrete maintenance programs. I guess a couple other small things, we've worked with the county, as well as we're working with MoDOT to, start preparing, the 4 empty lots on North High Street, that came, empty because of the, Highway 61 North project, to be able to make those parking lots in the future. So we're, working on a lease agreement so that we can start earlier than the finishing, of the, I get start earlier before that land is turned over to the city of Jackson from MoDOT. And small project, we're working on extending our sewer system on Old Orchard Road. And I think we need a little easement approval from MoDOT there as we go down Old Orchard Road going south. Working on that with MoDOT. And then the most asked Facebook page is still the Highway 61 North completion date, so I'll leave that to MoDOT to speak on. Good.
All right. We'll get there.
Anything from?
I was going to mention this Safe Cross program, the
Yeah.
crosswalk safety program. We're partnering with Springfield. They had developed a program that we're adopting, using some new signage and to bring better attention to our crosswalks. So that's a big project.
No, thanks.
Cape Girardeau County.
Steve Downey with me as a guest today, Paul Kemper spot, District 1 Commissioner, so kind of helping tutor him on transportation, because y'all know that's one of my favorite things, transportation. Anyway, so they got Steve. We'll be doing our bid for asphalt here pretty soon, and that's always, depends on what the price comes in, right, Joe, on how much we get done. So we may have X amount of money, and so been real aggressive, actually, in the last 3 to 4 years of overlay. You got a road that's 15 years old, you got to overlay it or you lose it. So it's kind of tough. There's folks that have already got their easements done, they're on that list to get the road paved, and so we try to do what we can there. Got 3 bridges under construction now. So we have VRO funds, the off-system bridge replacement fund that we get. So that's going along. We appreciate MoDOT keeping 61 closed through Jackson. That's been helping for our jail project. Now, inside it actually worked out pretty well. It's the same vendor at both projects. So it helped us a lot on that part to get that done. So again, like Mayor said, we're partnering with parking is always a concern, and you can kind of put that in the pedestrian safety, I guess, checkbox of things of having good parking for folks in a safe manner and getting them off the street and off the highway is good. So,
You're gonna take special road district.
All their roads are paved. Well, they're doing, kidding aside is that, talked about, there's been a lot of concerns, talked about combining Cape Special Road District with the county or the county with Cape Special Road back and forth, but, take super majority of everybody that lives in special road districts to say they don't want it anymore. And if I lived in special road district, why would I want to do that? But we partner with them on a lot of things. We share soft match money and different things for building bridges and some projects we've worked on. So we get around to that Pile House intersection at some point, get that to fruition. I'm sure we'll be partnering with them with that someday too.
Cape Transit.
I think I let everyone know we moved obviously locations in the first part of November. So we are finalizing our 24 numbers. It looks like we've seen about a 35% increase in ridership from 24 to from 23, which is huge for us considering we're still operating on a driver shortage, vehicle shortage. We did get MoDOT has finally procured vehicles, so we will start ordering vehicles soon. to kind of help replace some of our other vehicles that need to be replaced. I asked Rich to join me. Rich is the Director of Public Safety for the university. So obviously, the university typically has a spot in this meeting as well. Beth had for years. We gave Rich the first semester to get acclimated at the university before I drug him along with me. But we are working with the university on some transit stuff as well too. And one of our other next big projects is revamping the city bus route. We're trying to come up with some creative things there with maybe making one route less wait time for the riders, more bus shelters and things like that. So I finally am in a place where I'm not putting out as many fires and it's time to move forward. So in the next couple of months, we'll start on that process.
Welcome. You're next on the list.
Usually you can't get me to shut up, but today I really don't have a lot to say other than the fact of we're slowly progressing towards collaborating with CGCTA for transit purposes. So which is not public yet, but here you go.
As I mentioned last meeting, we did have our driveway and parking paving project out for advertising. We did award the project to Front of Water this month. So hope to have it starting up when the weather gets nice.
SEMPO RPC, Drew. We've got a multimodal TAC meeting coming up next week. Some of you in the room have been contacted about that. So that it's modeled off of the RPC's TAC, but it is a subcommittee of the TAC, the multimodal entities and projects. So we're getting that kicked off. Working on a tip amendment for the MPO's tip. Added in a project that went missing somewhere along the line when we switched from one tip software provider to the current one. And I guess that's probably all.
Could you get him plugged into the TAC?
Yes. Yes.
I'm volunteering.
At least you're in the room and you got volunteer. There are advantages to show up.
Yeah, so our next TAC meeting is not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after, following our RPC meeting. So that is scheduled as well. And the multimodal TAC is, MoDOT Multimodal and Jeff City is looking at trying to consolidate and streamline their unfunded needs priorities list and their project gathering. It's kind of, each little department's been doing it different for several years, and they're trying to get it kind of unified and streamlined a little bit. So that's kind of the primary focus of this group right now, is to try to gather those projects and those needs and get them all in one place and kind of look at prioritizing those a little bit so we can get those up. Okay, with that, we'll go to Boot Heel.
Thanks. Transportation wise here at the Boot Hill Regional Planning Commission, we're currently working on an active transportation plan, trying to put the finishing touches on that for the city of Hayti Heights. Tomorrow we're having a TAC meeting. February the 20th, we're going to be having our second multimodal meeting, and we're still in the founding phases of that, trying to get everything organized and members appointed and some bylaws established. We just received the Safe Roads and Streets for All grant, so I heard y'all mention that you finished that up. Might be looking for some pointers from you. But we're looking forward to getting started on that. It was just awarded in November, and we're actually entering into our agreement sometime this month to get it kicked off and get started on that. So we also just did as Drew can tell you, we did the PROs and did the scoring on those. So those will be coming out pretty soon. And I think that's about it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining. See, we're ready.
Yeah, so I think I talked about one of the last times I was here, one of the projects that we're really kind of interested in exploring and better understanding is east-west access in the area. What we've done so far is talk to several local businesses to try to quantify the need and put a dollar figure on that, specifically in Missouri going west. We've had some engagement on the Illinois side. Jody Johnson, which is maybe your uncle?
Yes, sir.
That's right. And so he runs the Illinois regional office, the University of Illinois regional office. And so he and I got engaged together. So we started to have some pretty good dialogue about that. And they're coming over Friday to have a conversation about doing the same thing on the Illinois side, quantifying the business needs. So looking at getting from Paducah through Cape and then over somewhere at least to 67 and maybe on down. And ideally, in a perfect world, obviously we have a lot of work to do to get on the priority lists and get and TAC and all this stuff. But we do want to get it studied. And so Representative Boss and I have been working about potentially getting some funding this session to study the Missouri side, and Illinois may look at getting some funding to study the Illinois side as well. So we'd like to mirror our efforts. So early stage, still talking about it, but some activity continues to trickle along.
Huge regional impacts. MoDOT. You're first.
All right. I'm Corbin Carlton. I've taken over the area engineer spot for Chris Crocker. If you would like to meet with me or discuss anything in your administrative buildings, just come to me after the meeting. I have cards. I'd like to start by covering the 61 Jackson job. With good weather, we plan to have it striped and open by the end of the month. However, if this does not happen, then it will be open by February. There's been multiple utility-related delays that have caused the postponing of this project's opening. The next project is the Emerson Bridge rehabilitation. Am I allowed to bring that up? Okay, that's going to be let.
We all want to know.
Yeah.
That'll be let hopefully tomorrow. There's a lot of unknowns happening, and we don't really know who's going to be selected or when they would like to begin to work. But that is on the docket for this coming construction season. Next job is a major route sign replacement, I-55, and throughout the entire district, all major routes. So basically, this will be shoulder work where they'll be replacing the every 0.2, 0.4, 0.6 mile markers. Okay. Next will be Route 74, exit 95, the I-55 ramps. You know, the signals are putting in. There's been some delays on getting the shipment of the signal post. Some backlogs, so we hope to have that project complete by March or early April. Next project is the I-77 shoulder and overlay. Pace will begin this in mid-March, and the work will begin with shoulder work before doing the overlay. Concerning the Route 72 Millfill overlay in Jackson, the current remaining work is between County Road 335 and the railroad track. We hope that this will be paved in April or latest May. And after this has been paved, there'll be 2 bridges that will have work done to them, repair work. Route K roundabout job is complete, local roundabout, but the center island was damaged, may need some repair. There's a drainage project on Route K. Puts construction will begin this in July. They're waiting for the dry season. And then I have the Fruitland Rest Area job. We'll be getting work on this as soon as possible. It looks like February, roughly middle February. The rest area will close a couple of days prior to work starting. And lastly, I have the Chester Bridge data. If anybody wants an update, just come to me after the meeting. I know it's not close to the MPO location, but if you have questions, I have answers.
Corbin, do you have a date on the Notre Dame roundabout?
I do not, but I'm sure Friday I can give you something.
Awesome. That's dropping my kid off every morning, seeing the chaos.
No, I didn't say why. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Then Chris has.
He needs to be involved. Yes, sir.
All right, Joe?
It's winter time. That means it's STIP season. So we are in the middle of programming projects for the upcoming STIP. That's including going through the typical JLCs that we do every year for standard concrete, asphalt replacement, erosion, guard cable, guard rail replacements, but also the projects that are maintenance related, like resurfacing projects. And we are starting to see really with this fiscal year, starting back in earlier this year, late middle of last year, starting to see inflation coming down, or our bids are starting to come down and be much more in line with where we're used to seeing those, instead of 30, 40, 50% above. Still have had a few, so we've had a couple projects that got rejected, but overall starting to look better, which is good for us. I don't know if the people who've been here longer term may recall that 3 or 4 years ago, when we were doing the high priority unfunded needs list, we funded pretty much every project out of the Southeast District that was on tier 1, which was great. And then immediately got hit with the inflation. And so we've had some of those projects have taken longer to go and cycle through, been some delays, but I think all of those will eventually be done or close to being done. But in the meantime, we haven't had a lot of movement on that high priority unfunded needs list as far as getting projects off of them into construction. So anyway, STIP programming is ongoing. I mentioned high priority unfunded needs. Will be, I think, Jeremy, I think you mentioned needs prioritization is, we're going to be starting that up and probably have that in May, June, and August. We'll be looking to go ahead and get our high priority unfunded needs list redone. That's an annual process. And then late February, I think on the 27th, we have a statewide planning partner meeting. Alex, hopefully you received your invite.
I got it.
Jeremy and Drew. So we'll have our planning partners all in Jeff City. They'll be going over the financial forecast, which hopefully will be a little bit more sunnier than previous years, with a better outlook. So that is all that I have, unless someone has questions.
Questions for Joe? Or Corbin? All right, Tom, hi, Doc.
We are having a statewide MPO meeting next week, and Alex is certainly welcome if he would care to attend. Paducah's coming up, so you could maybe share a ride. Anyway, nothing else. No report.
On to the staff report.
The only project that is in our work plan that you haven't heard about yet is our Title VI and Limited English Plan update. We did issue a task order with KLG Engineering to help us update that plan. So you'll be hearing a little bit about that coming up toward the end of our fiscal year. That's all I got.
Any questions on those for Alex? Does anyone have any other businesses or communications? Hearing none, I take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion from Chad,
Second.
second from Mayor Haas. All in favor? All right, thank you so much for attending. And remember to hit the sign up sheet. You can make sure your information is correct and all there. Thank you very much. There you go.
It's a long.
Well, I did appreciate